Hi everyone, my name is Devin and you're watching Herbivore at Home. Today I'm going to show you how to make some chocolate dipped Valentine's Day cookies. These are my favorite sugar cookies and they're also vegan. Let's get started. You're going to need 3/4 a cup of butter, 3/4 a cup of sugar, 2 cups of flour. Store some extra on the side as well because you're definitely going to need it. 1 tablespoon of cornstarch, 2 tablespoons of almond milk, a half a teaspoon of baking powder, 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract, and a half a teaspoon of salt. A little later on, you'll be needing some semi-sweet chocolate chips and a variety of sprinkles. If you're interested, you can also get some red dye on the side as well because I'm going to make some of my dough pink or red. So if you want to do that as well in the spirit of Valentine's Day, then make sure to get your red dye out. For those of you with a hand mixer, this recipe is going to be super quick and easy. For those of you without one, we're on the same page. And it's doable, but just be prepared to be patient because it does take some muscle and some time. Get your butter into your bowl and mix it up until it's nice and creamy. Then you're going to want to add in the sugar and thoroughly combine the two. Next, you'll mix in the vanilla and almond milk until it's combined. Toss in your cornstarch and only half of the flour. It's probably a good idea to separate your flour into 2 separate cups because clearly I'm just eyeballing it here. Add in the baking powder and salt and then continue to mix. Guys, I highly recommend using a wooden utensil to combine the dough. As you can see, I had to switch out my stirring tool because the rubber spatula was extremely difficult to use. Mix all of the ingredients together until a dough is formed. Then go ahead and add the rest of your flour. Once you add the remainder of the flour, the dough may get harder to mix and will be slightly crumbly. Even though the dough might get crumbly, if it's still semi-sticky, then keep adding flour until your dough is no longer sticky. What I mean by this is that it should feel like firm dough and it should not stick to your hands, the bowl, or your stirring utensil. Continue to add a little flour at a time until the texture is correct. If you want multiple colors, split your dough in 2 or 3, however many colors you want, and then set aside the other halves for now. Now get out some parchment paper to set the dough on. If you don't have any, you can definitely sprinkle some flour on your work surface or cutting board and use that instead. You could probably use wax paper as well with flour on it, but parchment paper is definitely the best option. Flour your dough up some more and make sure that it's not going to stick to your surface or the rolling pin. Roll out your dough and add, that's right, even more flour. Grab more parchment paper and fold it up so that your dough can go in the fridge. Now if you want to have red or pink cookies, grab your gel or dye and mix it in with your remaining dough until it's the color that you're aiming for. I was going for more of a pink, but as you can see, they did turn out more red, so you should probably only add a drop or 2 at a time. Repeat the flouring and rolling technique that you just did with your other dough ball. Wrap the dough up in parchment paper and set both doughs in the fridge. You can keep it in there anywhere from a half hour to 2 hours. Honestly, whatever works best for you and your schedule. I'm impatient and I had places to be, so I only waited for a half hour and my cookies turned out fine. But I know if you have somewhere to be or you need to go run some errands, you can definitely leave them in there for 2 hours. Nothing is going to happen to the dough. Grab your dough out of the fridge and cut your cookies. You're probably going to have to roll out your dough several times to get as many cookies as possible. I will warn you, the more you roll it out, the stickier this dough gets. There's just something about this recipe, when it's cold, it's really easy to cut, but when you roll into it and get it warm again, it does start to get sticky. So you're gonna wanna flour the dough each time you roll it back out. Now repeat this step with your other dough. Be careful how you store your dough, because as you can see, mine cracked. I set it on top of something else, and so it just sort of flopped over on itself. Cut your cookies out and set them aside for the next step. Now grab a pan and place some parchment paper on top. You can also use nonstick spray or butter, whatever works best for you, but the bottoms do tend to cook better when they're on a parchment paper. Get all of your cookies on the pan and bake on 350 degrees for 8 to 10 minutes. Next, boil some water and find a heat-safe bowl to put your chocolate chips in. I don't have a double boiler. I got my glass bowl at the dollar store and it held up just fine. If you have a pan specific for melting chocolate, that's even better. Stir every 30 seconds until the texture is smooth and creamy. Get your chocolate and sprinkles together and lay your parchment paper or a plate out for easy access. Decorate your cookies however you want to. I kept some really fun and cute, and I made others more simple. This part can get kind of tedious and messy, so be prepared for that. Now, I'm no cookie decorator, and in fact, I'm actually horrible at putting final touches on food, but I honestly think they turned out pretty well. If you're a perfectionist, then your cookies are not only going to taste delicious with this recipe, but they'll probably look a lot better too. Thank you guys for watching, and don't forget to tune in for my next video.